Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to continue with chapter number 9, Express.JS. Subject name is Web Frameworks. In last sessions, we have discussed about REST API and some introductory part regarding Express.js. Now we are going to continue with Express.js Request and Response Object. Here we will start with Express.js Request Object. So here Express.js Request and Response Objects are the parameters of the callback function. These are the parameters of callback function which is used in Express applications. The Express.js request object represents the HTTP request and has properties for the request query string, parameters, then body, HTTP headers, and so on. So these are the parameters for or the properties for that request query string. So here this is the syntax for request object here. App dot get inside the bracket in single quote slash comma function containing the parameters request comma response and the body of that function, and close the get function here. This is the syntax for this request object here. Express dot request object having some properties. So this is the table having properties for that request objects. First one is request dot app. So that request dot app means it is used to hold a reference to the instance of the express application, that is using the middleware. Then request dot base URL. It specifies the URL path on which a router instance was mounted. Then third one is request.body. It contains key value pairs of data submitted in the request body. By default, it is undefined and it is populated when you use body parsing. Body parsing middleware like body parser. In last sessions, we have seen about body parser. The next one is request.cookies. When we use cookie parser middleware, this property is an object that contains cookies sent by the request. And next one is request.fresh. It specifies that the request is fresh and it is opposite of request.stale. Then next one is request.hostname. It contains the hostname from the host HTTP header. We will see all these properties later on. Then next one is request.ip. It specifies the remote IP address of that request. Then request.ips. When the trust proxy setting is true, this property contains an array of IP addresses specified in the forwarded for and request header. Then next property is request.original URL. This property is much like request.url. However, it retains the original request URL that allows you to rewrite that URL freely for internal routing purpose. Then these are the several properties for that request object here. Then next one is request object methods. So first method is request.accepts and the parameter is types. So this method is used to check whether the specified content types are acceptable based on that request accept HTTP header fields. This method is used to check whether that specified types here. The parameter is specified types. So that specified content types are acceptable or not. So example for this method is request.accept inside the bracket HTML. So this type is acceptable or not. It will, based on that request, it accept that HTTP header field. So next one is request.accepts. We can write like text slash HTML. Then next method is request.get and the parameter is field request.get inside the bracket field. So this method returns the specified HTTP request header field. It returns the specified request or specified HTTP header fields. So example for this request.get inside the bracket content type. It will return the content type. Okay. Then next method is request.is. or inside the bracket type. So this method returns true if the incoming request is content type. HTTP header field matches that MIME type specified by the type parameter. So it returns true if that incoming request is content type. See the example for this, like with that content type is text slash HTML and character set is UTF-8 encoding technique. See the request dot is inside the brackets in single quote HTML, then request dot is in single quote text slash HTML. This is the content type. Request dot is text slash star. So these are the ways we can write this type here. So it will return the true if that content type is matches with the MIMA type specified parameter. The next method is request dot param. That is name of that parameter here. See the parameters are name and default values. So this method is used to fetch the value of that param name and when that present. It is used to fetch the value of that parameter name when it is present. See the example here. Name, suppose name is equals to like Sasha, then request dot param inside the bracket give the parameter as name with that value. Like we can directly do here. You can see the name. First we are going to declare the name. Okay. Then see post here. Now it will return the name as Sasha. When we are going to like write like request dot param inside the bracket name. So it will return the name we have declared here. Then like see post name is equals to Sasha. Then if we write like request dot param inside the bracket name, then it will return the name of that attribute or that parameter here. Okay. Now we will see the Express.js response object. So previously we have seen the Express.js request object and the methods for that request object. Now we are going to see the response object. So here the response object, see the res, we are going to write in the function request and response. That R is for the response object. It specifies the HTTP response which is sent by an Express app when it gets an HTTP request. After getting that request, it will send the response to that application. So what it does, it sends a response back to the client browser. Response back to the client browser after that incoming request. It facilitates you to put new cookies value and that will write to the client browser. Then once you send that, once you response.send or response.redirect or response.render, you cannot do it again, otherwise there will be an uncaught error. You can write only once that send method, redirect and render method. You cannot do this again, it will show the error for that. So see the properties for that response object. Like first one is response.app. So it will holds a reference to the instance of Express application that is using the middleware. Then headers send response.header sent. It is a boolean property that indicates if the app sent HTTP headers for the response. Then response.locals. It specifies an object that contains the responses, response local variables and response local variables scope to that request. So these are the three properties for response object. Response.app, response.header sent and response.locals. So now we are going to see the methods for that response objects. So first one is response append method. See the syntax for response append method. res.append, response.append, and the parameters are field and values. So this method appends the specified value to the HTTP response header field. That means if that specified value is not appropriate, then this method readdress that. Readdress that. See, this method appends the specified value to the HTTP response. See the example for that append method. Response.append inside the bracket give the field name like link and the values. Here you can see response.append warning comma and the value. that warning message. Okay. Then next method is response attachment method. Syntax for that attachment method is res, that is response dot attachment, and the parameter is the file name. That file is to be attached. This method facilitates you to send a file as an attachment in the HTTP response. In the HTTP response, we can send a file as an attachment. How we can send this? See the example for that. Response dot attachment, and the inside the bracket the field name. See path to that. Now we are going to send one png file with the attachment to that http response, like we are giving the path of that file here. Okay. Then next method is response cookie method. So syntax for that cookie method is res dot cookie, and the parameters are name and the values. So this method is used to set a cookie name to a value. Set cookie name to value. The value can be a string or object converted to JSON. See the example for that setting cookies here. Response.cookie inside the bracket name and the values, like here you can see name comma and the value, that is Aryan comma the domain name. This is the optional part here. Okay. Then next one is response clear cookie method. So syntax for that clear cookie method is response dot clear cookie. See the syntax. The clear C is C of that clear is small, and cookies C is capital here. See the syntax is for that clear cookie method here. Response dot clear cookie, and the parameter is the name and the options. So as the name specifies, the the clear cookie method is used to clear the cookies that are specified by the name. And see the example, to set a cookie, we use response.cookie inside the bracket name and the value, and the options part, or the like a path we are giving for that. We are going to set the cookie for that. Then to clear a cookie, write response.clear cookie, give the parameter as a name and the options or the path. Then next method is response download method. So syntax for the download method is response.download inside the bracket, give the path like and the file name. So this method transfers the file at the path as an attachment. After downloading, it will transfer the file at the path as an attachment and enforces the browser to prompt users for download. It enforces the users to download that file or that attachment. See the example for download here. Response.download inside the bracket, give the path name of that file with the extension, okay, as an attachment. So next method is response end method. Syntax for response end method is res, that is response.end inside the bracket, parameters are data or encoding technique. So this method is used to end the response process. It's all methods is for response object. Okay. So response.end method is used to end the response process. See the example. We can directly write response.end or res status inside the bracket, status of that end, like error message or dot end. Okay. Then next one is response format method. So syntax for format method is response dot format inside the bracket object. So this method performs content negotiation on the accept HTTP header on the request object when it is present. So response dot get method. Syntax for the get method is res get inside the bracket field as a parameter. So this method provides HTTP response header specified by that field. Example for that, response.get and the content type. It will return the HTTP header that is specified by that field. Then next one is response JSON method. So what is JSON method here? See syntax for that, response.json inside the bracket body, that is optional here. This method returns the response in the JSON format. So example for that, you can write like response.json inside the bracket write null, or response.json inside the bracket write like name colon and the name like Ajit here you can see. The next method is response JSON p method. So syntax for that, response.jsonp inside the bracket body. That is the optional part here. This method returns the responses in JSON format with JSONP support. So example for this example for this both JSON and JSONP is same. It will return the responses in the JSON format, and if you are writing like response.jsonp, it will return the JSON format with the JSONP support. Then next method is response links method. Syntax for this response.links inside the bracket give the links. So this method populates the response link HTTP header field by joining the link provided by the properties as the of that parameter here. If you are going to mention any link here, it will join that link to the properties. Here, see the example like response.links inside the bracket give the link like for the next and the last, okay? Links of that or that URL. Then next method is the response location method. Syntax for that is response dot location and the path of that location here. This method is used to set a response location HTTP header field based on the specified path parameter. See the example for this response dot location give the path for that location here. And next one is a response redirect method. For redirect purpose, see the syntax response dot redirect and the status and the path. Status is optional here. So this method redirects the URL derived from the specified path we are going to mention here, and with specified HTTP status if it is there. See the example here response dot redirect and the path of that URL here for redirecting. Then next method is response render method. See the syntax for response render here. Parameters are view and locals and callbacks are optional here. So render method, this method renders a view and sends the render HTML string to the client. How? See the example. Send the render view to the client like response.render inside the bracket index to be rendered, and pass a local variable to the view. How to pass here? See response.render inside the bracket right view, that is user, and see the name of that user and the function. This is the callback and this is the locals here. User is aryan, and see the function error or HTML. If it is there, proceed with that, or otherwise show the error. And next method is response send method. Syntax for that send method is response.send and the parameter is body, that is optional part here. So this method is used to send the HTTP response. See the examples here. Response.send inside the bracket new buffer and the parameter as a hoop here, and response.send some colon JSON. Response.send some HTML or that string here for that sending as a response. And next method is send file method. Response dot send file and the parameters are path and that options are optional here. So this method is used to transfer the file at the given path. Using send file, we can transfer the file at the given path here. It sets the content type response, that is HTTP header field based on the file name's extension. See the example here, response.send file, give the file name, options and the functions here. Then next method is response set method. Syntax for that response.set and the parameters are field and value is optional here. So this method is used to set the response of HTTP header field to value. So example is response.set. Here see the field is content type comma text slash plain. That content may be text or plain text here. Okay. Then next method is response status method. Status of that response here. See the syntax response.status and the parameter is code. So this method sets an HTTP status for the response. For particular response, it sets a HTTP status. See the example for this response.status, and this is the status with the end response dot status inside the bracket. See the example like 400 dot send, that is that message, like write message in single quote like bad request. Status for that response is 400 bad request. And last method is response type method. Syntax for this response dot type and the parameter is type. So this method sets the content type HTTP header to the emit type. By using this method we can set the content type here. So in this way we have seen the Express.js response object and the method for that response object, and Express.js request object and the methods of that request object. We'll stop here. Thank you.